Okay, good afternoon, class. Today we're going to be doing Learning Unit 5 of your microeconomics studies, and it deals specifically with demand and supply practically in action. So we're going to be looking at a number of examples, and the first is we're going to be looking at changes in demand and the effects of changes in demand. So if I were to ask you what would be the effect on price and quantity if income changed. So we're saying if income goes up, so, anyone? First of all, what kind of an issue is this? What are we dealing with? We're asking what happens when income changes. Are we dealing with supply or demand? It's a demand issue, isn't it? Income affects consumers, doesn't it? So, anyone? What is likely to happen to price and quantity when income changes? What is likely? What are consumers likely to do? Income is going up. How does it affect the market for tomatoes? Say that clearly. What will increase?
The quantity.
Quantity. Okay, what's the first reaction in the market? What's the initial response to income increasing? What's the very first thing that happens? That's the knock-on effects you're going into. What's the very first thing that happens? Pardon? Before we get there, the dynamics change here in our market equilibrium here. What is the first response? It's a direct influence on demand. Is demand likely to increase or decrease? Are we likely to consume much more or much less when income goes up? Much more. So we're expecting a shift in demand, aren't we? So that's what we've come to learn that happens when income goes up. The demand curve will shift to the right. More money in the economy, a whole lot more demand. So demand shift to the right. Now, what happens? We've got our existing supply curve and a new demand curve. So we've got a new equilibrium position, E1. We've got an increase in the quantity demanded to Q1, and the price will go up to P1. So you've got to indicate all your arrows showing all the movements. Price goes up, and quantity demanded increases. So, when asked a question, what happens if income goes up? You draw your set of axes with your equilibrium position in the market, show your shift in demand, and then see where the new intersection is with the new demand curve, the existing supply curve, change in equilibrium quantity, change in equilibrium price, indicate your equilibrium position, P up, Q up. Good, let's do another example. Any questions on that? So let's have a look. What would happen in our market for tomatoes if N goes down? What is N? Number of households, or the number of people in each household, right? So, any predictions? Can you do the prediction without drawing your axes? It's not a good idea. So we always draw ourselves our equilibrium position. supply curve, demand curve, indicate our equilibrium. P1, E1, Q1, as long as all your symbols match up. Quantity in kilograms, price in rands. Right, so we're asking the question, what happens when the population in the economy decreases? Is it a demand or a supply issue? What's it going to affect in our economy? Demand, quantity demanded, or the demand curve? Is he right? It's the demand curve, isn't it? It's the entire demand curve is going to shift to our left. Shift to the left. There's a decrease in the number of people in our economy, so there's going to be far less tomatoes consumed in this economy. So the entire demand curve shifts to the left. Our existing supply curve intersects with the new demand curve here, indicate with a new equilibrium position, E2, Q2, quantity demanded is now less, and P2, the price has fallen. So we say what happens to price and quantity when population decreases, P will go down and Q will go down.